UFC 285 is less than a week away, and Jon Jones is set to make his return to the octagon after 3 years away from the sport. Jones vacated the light heavyweight championship in May of 2020 and announced he'd finally be moving up to challenge for the heavyweight belt, something he'd been teasing since 2013. During Jones' 3-year period away from the octagon, Francis Ngannou was a force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight division, ragdolling legends of old and young up-and-coming challengers in devastatingly brutal fashion. Everyone wanted to see Jon Jones challenge the heavyweight titan. However, the UFC made it clear they weren't willing to pay Ngannou what he was demanding. So, Ngannou and the UFC decided to part ways. With Ngannou pricing himself out of the picture of heavyweight and Jones eager to return to the sport, a lot of rumor and speculation about who Jon would be fighting began to circulate. It was finally announced, or I guess leaked, thanks T-Mobile Arena, that Jon Jones would be returning to the octagon to fight talented heavyweight striker Ciryl Gane. Certainly not the matchup anyone would have guessed, but at this point, the MMA community is desperate to see Jon Jones return and challenge for the heavyweight title. There are so many questions about this fight. How will Jon Jones look after a 3-year layoff? People criticize Jon Jones' performance against Ovince St. Preux, saying he didn't look as good after the long layoff. But his layoff after UFC 214 was even longer, and he came back to absolutely dominate Alexander Gustafsson, looking better than he had in a while. Maybe this time he'll do the same thing he did at UFC 232, and he won't look as rusty as people seem to think he will. How will Jon Jones deal with the extra weight he's put on? Jon Jones has always had to cut about 15 pounds in his fights in the light heavyweight division. Although not a significant cut, it will be interesting to see how not having to deal with that this time around will affect him in the heavyweight division. It's also going to be interesting to see how he carries his new weight and muscle. There's no doubt he'll have some extra strength, but how drastically will that affect his cardio? Jon Jones has so much more 5th round experience than Gane. Gane has only been to the 5th round 3 times and he lost one of them, whereas Jones has been to the 5th round 8 times. That's a lot more championship experience for Jon Jones. Will Jon Jones be able to take Ciryl Gane down? Jones struggled to secure takedowns in his last outing against Dominic Reyes. However, he's been training with Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo, so there's no doubt they've been drastically focusing on that aspect of his game. Jon Jones has been training with some big heavyweights. He's been training with Walt Harris and Maurice Green, and although they haven't shown to be quite on the same level as Ciryl Gane, they're natural heavyweights, and that will give him a good look. Will Jon Jones even have to take Ciryl Gane down? When people think of Jon Jones striking, they don't really think of devastating knockouts because he doesn't really have any. There's no doubt Jon Jones has some power in his punches. We've seen him drop Lyoto Machida with a beautiful left-handed Superman punch and stun Daniel Cormier with a perfectly timed left high kick. But how will this power translate moving up a weight division and against a behemoth like Ciryl Gane? Ciryl Gane is the most technical striker in the heavyweight division, and Jones had issues in the striking department in his last 2 outings with Santos and Reyes, leaving many to speculate. What will Jon Jones look like against such a high-level heavyweight? Although Ciryl Gane undoubtedly has some of the best striking in the heavyweight division, he showed some potential weakness in the wrestling department in his last fight. Now maybe Ngannou is just so freakishly strong that defending his takedowns isn't an option, or perhaps people aren't giving Ngannou credit for his improvements in the wrestling department. After all, he did take down Stipe Miocic in their rematch. But at the end of the day, Jon Jones doesn't have Ngannou's freakish strength, so his technique will have to make up for that. And to say Jon Jones is a far better technical wrestler than Ngannou is a huge understatement. We'll just have to see if Jones can mix it in with his striking and set up good opportunities for the takedown come fight night. My prediction for this fight, I think Gane is going to have success on the feet early in this fight, specifically if Jones is unable to secure the takedown. I see this being a competitive fight, with Gane probably taking the first 2 rounds narrowly, but the story of this fight will be the later round. I think as this fight goes on, Jon Jones is going to show his 5-round experience, and he's slowly going to start to take over the fight, specifically in the championship rounds. I can see Jones winning a comfortable decision, 48-47 on all 3 judges' scorecards. People have been betting against Jon Jones for a long time, and maybe this time it's somewhat reasonable considering his last few outings. But I've been there and I've done that, and I just can't bet against Jon Jones this time. Gane has the potential to beat Jon Jones, but the vast difference in experience leads me to believe Jon Jones will get the job done, and he'll continue to be seen as arguably the greatest fighter of our generation.